It's 3 in the morning. You're lying in bed staring at the ceiling. You've been trying to sleep for hours, but nothing. Now imagine that feeling, but it never ends. Not tomorrow, not next week, not ever. No sleep, not 1 second, for the rest of your life. What happens to your body, your mind, your entire sense of reality? Today we find out. First, why do we even sleep? Here's the short version. Every single day, your brain is running at full speed, thinking, remembering, feeling, making decisions. All of that work leaves behind a kind of mental garbage, waste products from all those billions of tiny brain cells doing their jobs. Sleep is when your brain takes out the trash. While you're out cold, your brain actually shrinks very slightly, just for a few hours, so that fluid can rush in and wash everything clean. Sleep is also when your memories get locked in. Anything you learned today, your brain replays it at night and files it away. Without sleep, you'd forget almost everything. And that's just the brain. Your muscles repair themselves while you sleep. Your immune system does its best work at night. Your heart rate drops, your blood pressure goes down, your whole body gets a chance to rest and rebuild. Sleep isn't a luxury, it's basically a life support system you can't turn off. So what happens when you try? Day 1 without sleep? Honestly, not that bad. You're tired. Your eyes feel like someone rubbed sand in them. You keep yawning. You reach for coffee, or tea, or whatever gets you going in the morning. Your reaction time is already a little slower than usual. If someone throws something at you right now, you're probably not catching it. And your mood? Not great. You're a little snappy, a little impatient, but you function. You go to work, you talk to people, you maybe even forget for a few hours that you didn't sleep. The real problem starts when night falls again and you still can't sleep. By the time you've been awake for 36 hours, your brain is doing something really strange. It starts giving itself microsleeps. These are exactly what they sound like. Little tiny blackouts lasting less than a second. You don't notice them happening, but your brain is basically stealing tiny moments of sleep from you without your permission. The problem? You're still conscious, still walking around. And during those micro-sleeps, your brain completely checks out. It's like someone keeps unplugging your computer for half a second, over and over. This is why sleep-deprived driving is so dangerous. You can fall asleep for 1 second at 60 miles an hour and travel the entire length of a football field. Eyes open, no idea what happened. You're also starting to have trouble making decisions. Simple stuff. What to eat for lunch? What to reply to a message. Your brain just hangs. And here's something weird. You start caring less about everything. Scientists call it emotional blunting. Your brain is so busy just trying to keep the lights on that it stops processing feelings properly. You're not sad, you're not happy, you're just numb. 72 hours, 3 days without sleep. This is where things get genuinely scary. Your hands are probably trembling. Your eyes keep drifting out of focus. You might have a headache that feels like someone's slowly inflating a balloon inside your skull. But the worst part isn't physical, it's the hallucinations. At around the 72-hour mark, most people start seeing things that aren't there. Not dramatic movie hallucinations, subtle ones. A shadow in your peripheral vision that disappears when you look at it. A sound that nobody else heard. The feeling that something is standing in the corner of the room. Your brain is so desperate for REM sleep, the deep, dreamy stage where it does most of its important work, that it starts doing it while you're still awake. It literally starts dreaming with your eyes open. The technical name for this is sleep deprivation psychosis, and it's exactly as unsettling as it sounds. And remember, we're only on day 3. By the end of the first week, your body is starting to crash. Your immune system is crashing. The reason? Your immune system is basically an army, and sleep is when it trains, recruits new soldiers, and sharpens its weapons. Without sleep, the army starts to fall apart. Even a simple cold could hit you like a full-on flu. Your metabolism is going haywire too. Your body doesn't know what to do with food anymore. Insulin, the hormone that manages your blood sugar, stops working as well. You're at serious risk of becoming pre-diabetic in just 1 week of no sleep. And you're in pain. Not a specific pain, just everything hurts a little. Your pain threshold drops significantly without sleep. Things that would normally just feel mildly uncomfortable become genuinely hard to ignore. Your skin is also starting to look rough. That's not just tiredness showing on your face. Without sleep, your body produces less collagen, the stuff that keeps skin elastic and healthy. Wound healing slows down. Dark circles appear not just from puffy blood vessels, but from actual tissue breakdown around the eyes. Basically, you're aging fast, really fast. Here's something most people believe that just isn't true. You cannot catch up on sleep. There's this idea that if you pull an all-nighter on Monday, you can just sleep an extra 3 hours on Saturday and everything's fine. Scientists spent years studying this. The conclusion? No. You can recover some things, some reaction time, some mood, but a lot of the damage from sleep deprivation is permanent. Every night you miss sleep, your brain loses something it can never fully get back, which makes what we're doing in this hypothetical extra terrifying, because there's no catching up, ever, 2 weeks in. Most people in real sleep deprivation experiments are taken off them by now because the risks become too serious. In our hypothetical, we keep going. Your brain scans at this point would look genuinely alarming. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for logic, planning, and controlling your emotions, is basically going offline. You're making decisions from the emotional, impulsive part of your brain instead. The part that humans share with lizards. You're paranoid. You're seeing things constantly now. Conversations feel slightly unreal, like you're watching them happen to someone else. Time feels broken, hours feel like minutes, or sometimes like days. And here's the thing that really messes people up. You lose the ability to know how impaired you are. Studies on sleep-deprived people found that after a certain point, they completely stopped noticing how badly they were performing. They genuinely believed they were fine. They were making catastrophic mistakes and felt like they were doing great. Your brain is so tired it can't even tell you it's tired anymore. Now, here's where reality interrupts our hypothetical for a moment, because there is an actual real condition where people lose the ability to sleep. Forever. It's called Fatal Familial Insomnia. It's an incredibly rare genetic disease. You inherit it from your parents. And once it activates, usually in your 40s or 50s, it follows an almost identical path every single time. It starts with insomnia, just some trouble sleeping, then panic attacks and strange fears. Then you stop being able to sleep at all. Hallucinations begin. The person enters a state that doctors describe as a permanent waking dream. They're conscious, their eyes are open, but they're somewhere else entirely. Then within 12 to 18 months, they die. Not from starvation, not from heart failure. Their organs are technically still working, but the brain without sleep simply shuts down. As of today, there is no cure, no treatment, no way to stop it. That disease is the real-world proof of what we're exploring in this video. Sleep isn't optional. Take it away permanently, and your body has a very clear expiration date. But in our hypothetical, we ignore all of that. You're still here, you can't sleep, and somehow you survive. So let's see what life actually looks like. Let's say you've been awake for 3 months straight, and you've somehow adapted, not recovered, adapted. Your body has found a new, terrible normal. Here's what's strange. You have all this extra time, 24 full hours every single day. Everyone else is spending a third of their life unconscious. Not you. You could read every book ever written, learn 10 languages, build things, create things, think about things that no one has had time to think about before. But here's the problem. Your brain, the thing you'd need to do all of that, is running on fumes. Memory doesn't work right. Learning is incredibly slow. Reading the same page 3 times and still not absorbing it, slow. Your emotional life is bizarre. You don't feel things as sharply as you used to. Joy is muted. Sadness is muted. Everything feels slightly behind glass, slightly far away. This isn't depression exactly. It's something harder to name. And the nights are the worst part, because everyone else is asleep. The streets go quiet, the lights go off in houses, and you're just there. Alone in a way that most humans never have to experience. Completely awake in a world that has turned off. Some people who work extreme night shifts describe a version of this. A specific kind of loneliness that only happens between 2 and 5 in the morning when you're the only conscious person you can find. Now multiply that by every night, forever. Let's really stretch this out. 5 years without a single second of sleep. At this point, you're barely recognizable as the person you were before. Not in a dramatic way. You don't have superpowers. You haven't become some evolved being. You've become something more complicated than that. You're somewhere between human and not. Your perception of time is completely shattered. When you don't sleep, there's no natural break between one day and the next. No moment where you close your eyes and wake up and it's a new day. It's one endless, unbroken stream of consciousness. Days blur into weeks, blur into months. Time is just more of the same thing, forever. Scientists who study time perception say that sleep is one of the main things our brains use to mark the passage of time. Remove it, and time becomes formless. People in extreme sleep deprivation studies often lose track of what year it is, what month, even what decade. You'd have every memory you've ever made, but they'd all feel equally close. Something that happened 5 years ago would feel as immediate as something that happened yesterday. Because without the natural breaks that sleep creates, nothing ever gets properly filed away as the past. You'd be living in a kind of permanent present, carrying everything with you at once. On a physical level, something would have to give. In reality, as we said, you can't survive years without sleep. But let's say your body has found a way to get the basics done through some other mechanism. Your cells are still repairing themselves. Your brain is still clearing some of that waste. But sleep has other functions, ones you can't replace by staying awake. The emotional processing, the memory consolidation, the dreaming, especially the dreaming. Because here's something researchers have found that's genuinely unsettling. Dreams aren't just random noise. Your brain uses them to process experiences, work through fears, and in a weird way, rehearse life. People who don't dream enough have measurably worse emotional regulation. They struggle to process trauma. They carry things around that they can never quite put down. After 5 years without dreams, you'd have 5 years of unprocessed life piling up inside you. Every hard conversation, every moment of grief or fear or joy, all of it, undigested, still sitting there. You'd be carrying the weight of someone who hasn't been able to exhale in half a decade. Decades. Let's go there. You've been awake for 30 years. The people you grew up with have spent 10 full years of their lives unconscious. 10 years where they weren't there, and in that time, you were. What does 30 years of unbroken consciousness do to a person? There's a philosophical idea that the self you are right now isn't really the same self you were 10 years ago. Memories change, values shift. The person you were gets replaced, slowly, by who you become. Sleep is part of that process. Every morning you wake up, you're slightly remade, slightly different. Small things get let go of during the night, and you wake up with a little more space than you had before. Without that, you'd accumulate endlessly. Every version of yourself would just keep stacking up with no release valve, no reset button. You'd be the most experienced person alive, and possibly the most burdened. But here's the strange flip side of that. You'd also see things no one else ever sees. Every sunrise for 30 years. Every hour the world usually keeps hidden from human eyes. The 4 a.m. version of a city, the 3 a.m. version of the ocean, the way light changes across a whole night in the desert. Most humans only know the waking world. You'd know the sleeping one too, the quiet version, the version that exists between the days. And in some weird specific way, that world would belong only to you. So, what if you could never sleep again? You'd lose your mind slowly, then completely. You'd lose time and your sense of self and your ability to feel things the way the people around you do. But you'd also gain something. A different kind of awareness. A relationship with the world that runs on a different clock than everyone else. Whether that's a gift or a curse probably depends on who you ask. One thing we can say for certain though, after spending 20 minutes thinking about what it's like to never sleep, there's a pretty good chance you're looking forward to bed tonight. Which honestly, same. If you want to go even further down the rabbit hole, What would happen if you could swap bodies with another species for a day? Or what if humans suddenly lost the ability to feel pain? Either way, that's a story for another what if.